What is up guys, it's your boy Solheim here and back with another Classic WoW video for Season of Discovery. Now, we are a few weeks into Phase 3 now. We are about 3.5 to 4 weeks into Phase 3, and one question has been popping up quite a bit recently, both in my Twitch chat, YouTube comments, and also just in general that I'm seeing online, is talking about Phase 4 and when it comes out. So that's going to be the topic of today's video. I want to talk about Phase 4, when I think it will come out. We're going to take a look at some statistics to back this up, and take a look at the future of Classic WoW as well. Now, I'm making this video while I'm in Ashenvale, waiting for the next battle to get my daily done, and to be fair, a lot of what I'm doing right now in Phase 3 is doing my daily for the reputation, for the Warzone Gold, for example, and raid logging. At this point, I've gotten all of the busy gear that I want to have personally on one character. I also have an alt with like a lot of gear as well. Actually, I have two alts with really good gear. So at the moment, I'm raiding a lot, I'm raid logging, getting my buffs, getting reputations, doing dailies, and other than that, I have started going back to Wrath and preparing for Cataclysm. And in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with Phase 3 getting a little bit stale right now, with everything else going on in the World of Warcraft universe. That being said, if you only play Season of Discovery, I can see this phase getting kinda stale overall, and even now, like, you would probably spend a lot of time leveling alts, right? Even then, I feel like Season of Discovery, they've been talking a lot about how alt-friendly it is. I don't think it is alt-friendly. I think it is really alt-friendly for the leveling. Like, yeah, sure, we have incursions now, we have the experience multiplier, leveling is really fast, but you still have to go through all of the hurdles to get the runes. Imagine if you have 10 alts that you want to play, you would have to do Dark Riders 10 times. They have started doing a little bit to make things better here, like for example, the Ratchet rune, you can now straight up go and pick up. That's great. So instead of going through the turbochargers, dark iron ordinances, and fish oil, you can just go and buy the rune now, which that's pretty good. But you still have to do the Dark Riders, all of the quests from Phase 2, and all of the stuff from Phase 3. I would love if you maybe just had to do Dark Riders once, and then you could send that rune to all of your alts as well, or just like, you would have a dialogue option saying that you've done this before, so you don't have to do it again. That would make the season even more alt-friendly, and Blizzard have said themselves they're looking for this to be like, alts should be a big part of the experience. Either way, I've rambled quite a bit. Let's talk about the future of Season of Discovery, when Phase 4 is coming out. Let's back this up with some data, and just talk about it, alright? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below as well. Let me know when you think Phase 4 will be coming out, and let me know if you're bored of Phase 3, still having a blast in Phase 3, or let me know your thoughts on Phase 3 as well in the same comment down below. I would love to hear your output on this. Now, the first thing we have to consider when talking about Phase 4's release date is the length of the phase, and comparing that to the length of previous phases as well. Now, so far, we only really have Phase 1 and Phase 2 to compare this to, because we're in Phase 3, so we have 2 previous phases to guess this by. So, as you can see right here, I've put down some notes, some release dates, and the length of the phases. So, Phase 1 launched on November 30th, and lasted for 10 weeks. Phase 2 launched on February 8th, and lasted for 8 weeks, and Phase 3 came out on April 4th. Now, when it comes to Phase 1, I see a lot of people saying that Phase 1 was too long, and I see a lot of people saying that Phase 2 was too short, but I also see it depends on like what person you are, because I hear people saying that Phase 2 was too short. I also hear people saying that they were done with Phase 2 in week 2. They leveled up, did Nomrigan once or twice, and they were like, okay, I'm ready for Phase 3 now. And I think the same thing goes for Phase 3. A couple of people do Sunken Temple once or twice, and then they're like, okay, give me level 60 content. Meanwhile, I'm still having a blast. The only thing is, I don't have a reason to play the game 10 hours per day, which, that's great. Not everyone can do that anyway, and I have other versions of WoW to play. Now, if Phase 3 lasts for 8 weeks, this means that Phase 4 should be coming out on May 30th. Now, to me, 8 weeks is the bare minimum that a phase should last, just to make sure that we don't rush the content. The thing is, the faster we move on to Season 4, or the faster we move on to Phase 4, the sooner we are done with Season of Discovery, and also the more rushed the content will be, the less testing they will do internally, and the less data they will get as well. As you can see, the last couple of weeks they have gone out with several class tunings, a bunch of they're launching class changes in bulks. So we get like one big class change 1 week, then 2 weeks of nothing, and then we get some class changes again. They're also tuning the raid numbers based on feedback and based on how the players respond. So the more we play a phase, the more data Blizzard gets in order to help make the next phase better. Sunken Temple was vastly overtuned to begin with, and they know that now. So when making Molten Core into a 20-man raid in Phase 4, they know that maybe they shouldn't overtune it that badly. And they also know which classes are struggling right now, and they're looking to make changes for the betterment of the season based on that. Like, for example, they're buffing Boomkins, Shadow Priests, Warlocks, Elemental Shamans, all of those are being buffed, and they're also looking at how to buff them in PvE without buffing them in PvP by adding the PvP aura we had this weekend. This weekend they had like a testing going on Season of Discovery, where you took, I think it was 50% less damage in PvP. So anytime you engage into PvP combat, you take way less damage from PvP, which means that they can keep buffing classes to make them perform up to standard in PvE without massively affecting them in PvP. And for example, when you buff Boomkins, they're still not top DPS in raids at all, but their star surges in PvP would absolutely one-shot people, so they have to find a way to kind of balance that. Now, taking us back to these notes, if Phase 3 lasts for 9 weeks, this means that Phase 4 should be coming out on June 6th, and if Phase 3 lasts for 10 weeks, this also means that Phase 4 would be coming out on June 13th. Now, based on these, I think if they're looking for the 8 weeks, which I think they are, it should be coming out on May 30th, but for me, I think it will be coming out on June 13th, and I'll go further into that in a little bit, and I mean, actually, you'll understand why right now. So once again, Phase 1 came out November 30th, lasted for 10 weeks, so we've already had a 10-week phase, and arguably Phase 3 has a lot more to do than we had in Phase 1. Even though in Phase 1 everything was fresh, leveling took you 8 hours, or like between 8 and 10 hours, and then you could just literally go into BFD, and if all you did was raiding, that means you were set. You played for 10 hours, did the raid, boom, next character. So for me, I leveled 1 character per day, and I started raid logging on like 10 characters in Phase 1 after playing for like 2 weeks. So leveling was really fast, getting pre-raid bis was really fast, and doing the raid, you didn't even have to have pre-raid bis. So just level up, go into the raid, and there we go. For Phase 3, the raid does require a little bit of gear, I would say, for Sunken Temple. Either way, Phase 2, 8 weeks, and for Phase 3, I think we'll be going back to 10 weeks. And the reasoning why is we can go over to Wowhead and take a look at the roadmap. So they have like a roadmap for the whole future of Classic WoW in 2024. In this one, they tell you all about Wrath, Season of Discovery, Hardcore, all of the different phases, Cataclysm Classic Beta, the pre-patch, the launch, everything, right? And roughly when it's coming out. So in this case, we know that Cataclysm Classic is coming out on May 20th. This means that going back to the notes we just had, if Season of Discovery Phase 3 lasts for 8 weeks, this means Phase 4 would be coming out 10 days after Cataclysm Classic, which to me, that seems very unrealistic, and I would rather go for something like June 6th, in which case they give us 17 days between Cataclysm Classic and Season of Discovery, or even the 10-week options, aka June 13th. In this case, we have 2.5 weeks in difference, or like way more than that as well. So we have a lot more time between, this would be like 27 days, that would be 3.5 weeks between Cataclysm Classic and Season of Discovery. And to me, that would be a way better option, just to space things out, because I know, like, first of all, I know there's some people that play Season of Discovery that have no interest at all in Cataclysm, and that's fine, good for you. But I also know that there's a lot of people that do play Season of Discovery that also wants to play Cataclysm, and that's also fine. why would Blizzard compete with themselves by launching two big things at the same time? Cataclysm Classic is an expansion, it's pretty big, and then level 60 in Season of Discovery is also pretty big. It's literally max level content for the first time in this version of Classic WoW. They're both pretty big, so why compete with themselves by launching them too close? Now, I will say, Blizzard has done this in the past. They are really big fans of competing with themselves. Like, for example, Nax Ramus back in the day, like Phase 6 of Classic WoW, and I think it was Shadowlands, they launched pretty close. Wrath of the Lich King Classic and Dragonflight also launched pretty close, if you ask me, and they've had the patches where they're launching things in retail and Classic WoW 1 week apart, which is really dumb. But in this case, we have two different versions of Classic WoW, so we have Cataclysm Classic and Season of Discovery, and one reason why I think May 30th, aka 8 weeks here, is really unrealistic is that it's a lot of the same people. Classic WoW, the team they have, is a lot of the same people working on both versions of the game. A lot of the people working on Season of Discovery also work on Cataclysm Classic, so launching both of those 10 days apart, I think is a big ask for the people working on these games. So for me, that's one of the major reasons why I really think either June 6th or June 13th. I'm personally hoping June 13th, but I can see both of them being possible. Another thing to note here, there's two more things to note. First of all, we can take a look at, for example, the time between Season of Discovery, level 50 on this roadmap, and Cataclysm Classic pre-patch. The Cataclysm Classic pre-patch comes out on April 30th, while Season of Discovery Phase 3 came out on April 4th. They are listed as launching at roughly the same time on this roadmap, but there's 24 days, 26 days in between those two things. Even though they're right next to each other, there's 26 days in between Season of Discovery, level 50 content, and Cataclysm Classic pre-patch event. So those two, even though they're really close, there's 26 days in between. Now, one more thing to look at when you take a look at this roadmap is take a look at the Season of Discovery level 40 content and level 50 content and how close they are together. And then take a look at how far apart Season of Discovery level 50 and level 60 is. To me, this indicates that the time between Phase 2 and Phase 3 was shorter than the time will be between Phase 3 and Phase 4, based on the spacings on the roadmap here, because Season of Discovery Phase 3 launched in the middle of the spring, while Season of Discovery level 60 content, aka Phase 4, is said, like listed here, to be launching late summer, based on the roadmap, and based on where in the roadmap it is. This to me is late, middle-ish summer. So for me, it could even be later than my timelines right here. It could even be June 20th, but personally, I think during June 13th. Either way, that's pretty much what I have for you today. I just wanted to talk about Phase 4 and give my opinions on Phase 4 and make kind of a prediction. So once again, my prediction would be June 13th, maybe even June 20th. Let me know your predictions and what you think in the comments down below. As always, I really do appreciate you guys watching the video. Hopefully you enjoyed the video as well. If you did, leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel for more Classic WoW content, and as always, thank you so much for watching. I will see you again in the next video very soon.